When U.S. Congressman Cory Mills visited Syria the other week, few expected he would come back claiming that Syria's new leader, Ahmed Shara, said he would normalize ties with Israel under the right conditions. Shara has since denied this, saying that there can be no normalization while Israel is occupying Syrian land. Israel has occupied the Golan Heights since 1967 and seized even more territory north of that after Bashar al-Assad fell in December last year. Israel's defense minister said troops will remain there indefinitely, and its military even offered walking tours on Syrian land for the Jewish holiday of Passover, which were rapidly sold out before they had to be cancelled for security reasons. But that's not the only pressure Israel has applied on Syria's new government. After Shara took power, Israel bombarded Syria with hundreds of airstrikes across the country, launched ground raids into southern towns, and demanded the country's south demilitarize completely. It has also attempted to contact Syria's Kurdish and Druze minorities to propose dividing the country into ethnic cantons, and lobbied to keep Russia's military bases in Syria in order to undermine the central government in Damascus. Faced with Israel's constant military encroachment as he seeks to build a professional national army out of former rebel groups, Shara may fear worse is to come if he does not reach a deal with Israel. Peace with Israel is just one of many steps he may need to fulfill to remove another huge source of pressure, crushing international sanctions. These were imposed by the US against Assad's government, but have not been lifted after its overthrow. Despite growing attempts to engage with the new government, countries are still wary of breaching these sanctions. There have been small steps. In January, the US issued a 6-month pause on some vital sanctions, such as those on energy, public services, and humanitarian aid. Other countries have followed suit. Qatar said it was building a gas pipeline into Syria via Jordan, and Saudi Arabia and Qatar recently agreed to pay off Syria's debts owed to the World Bank. These steps have come as Syria's government has worked to build a security relationship with the US to prove that it is a trustworthy actor in the region. But the US is wary given Shara's past ties to Al-Qaeda, and it also wants to ensure that the ongoing withdrawal of US troops from Syria and Iraq will not bring chaos to the region. To achieve this, it sent Syria a list of conditions to fulfill in return for a 2-year pause on sanctions. And to reassure them, Shara has said he does not want conflict with Israel, has cooperated with the US to crack down on Islamic State fighters, and even arrested 2 members of the Palestinian armed group Islamic Jihad, as well as forming a committee to oversee Palestinian militant groups in Syria. He has also agreed to dispose of the Assad regime's chemical weapons, professionally restructure Syria's army, and help look for missing Americans such as journalist Austin Tice, as well as return the families of Islamic State fighters still imprisoned in Syria back to their home countries. But other US demands are more difficult to meet. Syria has rejected US demands to remove foreign fighters, given their help in overthrowing Assad, but they have paused their promotions in the army. It is also reluctant to grant the US the right to launch unilateral airstrikes in the country, given the brutal history of foreign air campaigns like Russia's during the Civil War. A ban on Palestinian political activities in the country could also hurt the government's legitimacy. But in some ways, the process is already underway. The US has started withdrawing several hundred soldiers and is preparing to close some of its military bases after Syria's government and the US-allied Kurdish forces reached an agreement in March. Meeting these demands may help Syria's new government gain international status and much-needed investment to help cover an estimated $400 billion in post-war reconstruction costs. But Shara is also concerned about Syria's own security. Israel's occupation, airstrikes, and proposals for dividing Syria, as well as America's demand for unilateral strikes, pose major threats to Syrian sovereignty. Syrians living in the country's south are still threatened by Israeli incursions, while crackdowns on foreign fighters and Palestinian groups could be dangerous for a new government with fragile credibility. After attempts to put down a pro-Assad insurrection on Syria's coast spiraled into sectarian violence, Shara may be more wary about trying to exert the authority of Syria's new security forces. Ultimately, Syria's dilemma is not too different from others in the region. Shara will have to balance his government's need for territorial sovereignty and political legitimacy with the relief of economic and military pressure from the US and Israel, especially as both have taken aggressive stances towards their opponents in the region, such as Iran and Yemen. Doing so could also unlock assistance from the Gulf countries that Syria desperately needs to rebuild its war-torn economy. But what Shara will have to give up to get there, and whether his new government can pull off that kind of a trade-off, is yet to be seen.